This is our friend, John Mitchell, and he's giving his interview for us. And so we're so very grateful and that he's here visiting us, and it's such a pleasure. So we're introducing John Mitchell.
Thank you, Ina. It's a pleasure to be here too. An honor to be included in on your productions of how, and we're all here because of our ex-JW experiences. And thank you very much for including me into your life. Well, I was born in 1950. That makes me 72 years old. And so I'm a child of the 60s, you might say. I embraced the rock and roll lifestyle, and my heroes were the great bands of the era, and that was my dream, was to go on into that culture. And I was not really encouraged that way by my parents. They had other ideas for me. So therefore, that might be one of the reasons why, out of rebelliousness, I allowed myself to become a Jehovah's Witness. Well, so times were bad. Times are always bad, so today we have such a means of communication back and forth across the world. We know a lot more about details than we did back then. But still, I came from the era in the 50s when we had exercises of ducking under our table for the nuclear war, and so it's always been there, the presence of all-out Holocaust in our life. And so I got involved after dropping out of college, disappointing my parents, disappointing myself, being drafted by the United States and opting to join the Navy, and then soon finding out that I'm not really Navy or military supportive of all that. So I kind of got myself an conscientious objector discharge from the Navy, and came back home and started playing rock and roll and meeting rock and roll friends, including who became my guitar mentor. He was a few years older than me, and was in one of the best bands of that time, just right in our town, and he was our mentor for all the different bands that came along of the kids my age. And he had been a similar circumstances, dropped out of college, ended up enlisting in the Coast Guard, and within a year had been discharged with a conscientious objector. And how he initiated that was through studying in New Orleans with Jehovah's Witnesses. So when we finally met up again in 1972, I was all excited to have him play with my band, and he kept saying, "No, John, I'm studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, and I think the end is near, and if we're going to have any kind of future, we've got to hop on board with Jehovah's Witnesses." So I allowed him to talk me into that, and I was concerned, in 1972, we had the Arab oil embargo, we had Nixon going to China, we still had Vietnam, unrest in Central and South America, we had 1972 Olympics in Germany, there was the massacre. The Palestinians came to Germany and massacred the Jewish Israel Olympic team, and so the times were critical then as well as they are today, I suppose. So those were some of the things that got me interested in study. I figured, well, if I was raised Methodist, went to the Methodist church a half a mile from my house every Sunday morning, and I never really bought into it. I thought, how can Christians go marching off to war in Vietnam, and you know, I just didn't ever. I always liked to think, was this what Jesus would want for us? And is liberty that important that we have to go out and slaughter Indians and have slaves to run our farms? And so I was questioning life, and Jehovah's Witnesses seemed to have all the nice answers, and I liked their non-involvement in government, or their perceived non-involvement in government affairs. I liked their I could never see, for instance, like Christmas, I could never understand how Jesus and Santa Claus meshed. No matter how they would explain it, it kind of always bothered me. And so I was easily, I could easily drop Christmas and birthdays and holidays, that I just jumped on board with the whole thing. So that's how I came to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I just followed the program that they want, you know, have a Bible study, come to meetings, come to the Sunday meeting first, and then the Thursday meeting, and being enticed into joining the ministerial school, and then having going to the book study meeting on Mondays. I just went along with it, and was asked to become a house painter to help a special pioneer that had come to town, and he was quite a interesting person and engaging, and so you just took an instant liking to him. And he taught me the business of house painting, interior decorating, wallpaper hanging, and that allowed me to be self-employed, which is another key thing that the Jehovah's Witnesses look for, because then you can always make time for the door-to-door service. And so I would regularly meet on Saturday mornings for the field service, and then make time during the week. One day, you just keep following their agenda, and if you have your regularity hours going field service, and you show some form of being able to engage others, then they moved. Then the first promotion was ministerial. So, and you do your little things. You know, you're in charge of the books, and counting how many people come to the meetings, and help supporting the elders. And that went on for a few years, and then at some point they said, well, my congregation decided that I would along with my mentor Gene Blair, and there was another man our same age who had a family, and he was asked to become an elder. So yeah, I was actually an elder in the Jehovah's Witness organization. I can't believe it. I was only 28 years old, and always down deep inside me from the get-go, from the day I was baptized, I remember saying to myself, well, we'll see how far this goes. I remember telling my mother, if the Bible has any importance in our lives, I think Jehovah's Witnesses will be the one, the organization, the church, the religion that explains that to me. So I just bought into the program and moved through quite easily because of my relationship with my mentor, my old guitar mentor, which his nickname is Butch, Gene Blair, Butch Blair. Well, no matter how far integrated I became with the witnesses, I always felt just a little bit creepy when I would be around my family because of just being different, and they were not at all interested in becoming Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, I figured I'm going to save my whole family, but they knew what was going on, and they allowed it to happen. But it was really kind of a crude way of treating my family to just no longer have holidays, Mother's Day and Father's Day. I mean, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with birthdays? And they did not ever chastise me for it. They just put up with it and worked with it. And then, as I said before, I was never really sold. I told my mother, if the Bible has something important to say, it's going to be Jehovah's Witnesses that will teach me about that. And but always I felt kind of creepy, you know, going door to door, and there just wasn't something that I just never felt good about it. When they made me an elder at the age of 28, that's when I really started seeing, this is really creepy, because then where before I was involved with these families just at meetings and in the door-to-door work, and maybe someone would have a picnic on the weekend or something, and but when as an elder they started calling me up and saying, Mr. Brother Mitchell, could you please, I'm having this problem with my child or my husband or whatever. I'm going, I don't need that. And so I was never really a firmly committed Jehovah's Witness. I still continued to listen to unbeknownst to most of the elders and the overseers. You know, I still listened to what was currently being offered in the rock and roll. I always kept playing guitar, even though my mentor, Gene, gave it up. I still continued to, that desire to be a guitar player was very obvious. And so that questioning just finally came to me eventually leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses after being appointed an elder. I didn't think it was any of my business what somebody was doing, and how could you trust if I'm not a witness to something? I can't trust what somebody said or did, and I started suspecting that there were some probably pretty bad things happening with younger persons, you could just tell by they just were not happy. The kids were not happy. They didn't have a dream to, they're that's not a dream to go to Gilead School or become a special pioneer or go to where the need's greater. That's just the compliance, what someone else wanted you to dream. And so they discouraged college and career building, unless it was window washing or house painting, house cleaning, which those are all good occupations, but they don't really build up any kind of security for when one becomes an old person. It's kind of hard to climb a ladder and keep painting up on way up high in houses. I was never fully happy that I was Jehovah's Witness. Because I know how traumatic the religion is for people who leave, especially the ones that were born in and raised. I mean, I ended up being disfellowshipped, but what did I lose? Nothing. What did I gain? I gained my family back, and they were happy to see me show up for Christmas again, and receive my mother getting her Mother's Day card. So I didn't really lose anything. But and then life goes on, and I don't need to go into the details of my relationships and everything that it's all been a blessing to me, no matter how out of the normal circumstances it may seem to some people. Life's a hoot, and I just go from one hoot to another, and as long as I can keep my guitar in tune, I'm doing pretty good. But then as I finally got my first computer, and the internet was just starting to blossom and evolve into such a worldwide web, and then as YouTube became more and more dynamic, if you need to fix your car, boom, go to YouTube. If you need to know how to play this song, go to YouTube. If you want to know what this person thinks about religion or God, go to YouTube. And then that's when I discovered an XJW community on YouTube, and I would view lots and lots, and I seem to be really interested in those persons who had suffered and had been traumatized by their life in Jehovah's Witness. I subscribed to those channels that I thought I could make comments and it would be helpful and healing for the person, and that's how I came to be involved with Ina and Jason, her husband, and making comments. And it just started during the COVID time, and Ina was reading from the Courage to Change book from the Al-Anon, and I had been involved with an alcoholic lady, and I was directed to Al-Anon to help me understand how those kinds of addictions can affect whoever is you're living with, and so when the COVID started, my Al-Anon meeting stopped, And it just like the next week, I saw hashtag courage to change, and I clicked in on this very pretty lady reading every morning from that Al-Anon book, and then I saw a hashtag XJW, and I saw even give it a little bit more attention, and as and then was come to meet her husband or see her husband on her channel and hear both their stories, and I thought, there's two people I'd really like to be able to know better. And so here I am in sunny Southern California, and it's been a blessing. This is a great opportunity for me. Ina and Jason are wonderful hosts, and showing me some nice things, and to visit, and their daughters are just very gracious, and I'm just happy to be here and to do this interview. It's an honor. When I first got here, Ina was outside waving, and I thought I was coming up onto a movie star, honestly. So, and she's just a wonderful, loving lady, and I wish we could all heal. We're all in this. Even though I joined up and asked for my medicine, I took it for 7 years. I happily left, and maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses said, well, he's going back, he's falling back into the ways of the world and the devil, and I thought I was moving forward, and so I don't really look and disgust at my 7 years. It was a learning experience which I continued on with my spirituality and have grown, and they've taught me public speaking, they taught me reading, and however I just maybe read a little bit too much, and I began questioning Bible things, including the teachings of Paul. To me, he's nothing but a troublemaker, and so I'm happy to share what I've learned especially with the ones that were born in and have been ostracized because they had different ideas and left, and it's just a terrible shame, and I'm always there supporting those and giving them a rah-rah, come on, go on. And even though I can't relate to how it is to lose your mother and father and not have them ever talk to me, I turned my mother and father away. They didn't turn me away ever. So, what is love? My mother still reads her Bible every day, so Christian love is something more than what Jehovah's Witnesses are offering people, I do believe. So, and it's it's dangerous. And then to go into the CSA and the involvement with the United Nations and all their little petty little ways of explaining why they were doing this and doing that just doesn't make it. They are a publishing company, a real estate company now, and they're disguising it as a religion. And as we know, in other parts of the world, they're in trouble, and they can't point to a Bible verse and say, well, Jesus said you will be persecuted in my name, because I don't even trust that Jesus said that. People flocked to Jesus. Why are they not flocking to Jehovah's Witnesses? Anyway, I could go on and on. Well, live the life you want to live. Follow your dreams. You want to be a guitar player? Go for it. You want to be a painter? Go for it. You want to be a nurse? Go for it. And don't let anybody dissuade you from that. And if you have little means, take advantage of what is being offered to those with little means. Community college, and if that's where you start, it can lead to great things. But you have to start and just believe in yourself and be ready to make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. Be honest with yourself and others, and don't live a fantasy life. Live and own up to what you're doing, and always know that you can improve on anything. And so I'm a guitar player, and my favorite guitar players are masters, yet they still continue to practice and learn new things every day. So that's what, and if there's some child out there that is being raised Jehovah's Witness, just don't be afraid of what's coming. They were trying to scare the kids 50 years ago when I got involved in 1972. Armageddon was right around the corner, and you don't want to mess up, and don't believe that. And so don't get baptized because you think you're going to make it into some fantasy new system. That will seal the deal on when you finally decide that you're leaving. Then you're just cut off completely from your family, and that's not a good thing. So just don't get baptized, and just, if you need to still go to meetings to have peace, go and do that, and just tune out and just be polite to everyone, and including your parents and whatever. And but you don't have to believe that down deep in your heart, and be looking for ways to get away. And if you need to talk to a professional, go for it. If you need to go to another church, go and see what they have to say. But don't be misled. Don't and try to avoid becoming addicted to TV, YouTube, Facebook, drugs, alcohol. It all will just, I'm not saying there's anything bad with any of those things. Don't become addicted to them. Don't become dependent on. Depend on your own self and what's in your heart.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you.